know about the Australian government? Well kids, news just in. There's going to be a federal election in a few weeks' time, so we'd better check out what's happening in the government at the moment. Now today we have some very special guests to tell you about their level of government. And to kick us off, Chief Federal.
Hi there, yes, Chief Federal reporting from the federal government offices here at Parliament House in Canberra. So here's a rundown of how things happen here. 3 different parts to the federal government: the Parliament, the Executive and the Judiciary. I'll start with the Parliament, which is the legislative part of the government, as this is where laws are made and voted on. There are 2 houses of Parliament: the House of Representatives, which is the lower house, and the Senate, which is the upper house. When we want to make a new law, a bill is read out in the House of Representatives. Then, after the second reading, the members of the House debate and vote on the idea in the bill. The bill may then go to public inquiry and be discussed in detail before there is a third reading where the members of the House vote on the bill in its final form. Then the bill is sent to the Senate, where the same process starts again. It is the main job of the Senate to act as a house of review and check all the bills that passed in the House of Representatives. After 3 readings in the Senate, debating and voting, the bill is passed and sent to the Governor-General, who hopefully gives it the royal assent. The bill then becomes an Act of Parliament and a new law for Australia. The federal government is formed by whichever political party has the most seats in the House of Representatives. At the moment, that's the Labor Party. The political party that has the second largest number of seats is called the Opposition. The senior ministers in the government form the cabinet, and together with the Prime Minister, they make all the most important decisions. They are known as the Executive Government, and they form the Executive Council, which consists of all the ministers in the government. It's the job of the executive to carry out the day-to-day government and administration of the country, and also to carry out the laws by the Parliament. Finally, there is the Judiciary. This is the legal part of the government, and they make sure that people follow the law. It is made up of a system of law courts and judges. In the federal court system, there are 4 levels of court: the High Court, the Federal Court, the Federal Magistrates Court, and the Family Court. The Judiciary also solves agreements between the Parliament and the Executive, and makes sure no parts of the government act beyond the powers granted to them in the Constitution. Now it's time to hand over to my colleague, Captain Stade, who will tell you a bit about her level of government.
Hello and welcome to the NSW state government in New South Wales. Each state and territory in Australia has its own government, ruled by the Premier in the states and the Minister in the territories. Here in New South Wales, our boss is currently Premier Barry O'Farrell. We have an upper house and a lower house, just like in the federal government. Our upper house is called the Legislative Council, and the lower house is called Legislative Assembly. Members of both houses are voted in by all Australian citizens who live in that state, and the government is formed in the lower house by whichever political party wins the most seats. The party that comes second is known as the opposition, just like in the federal government. It's the job of the state government to look after the schools, hospitals, electricity, gas, water supplies, roads, railways, police services, prisons, and many other things in NSW. We can also make our own laws that might do with how we run these services. We make our laws in a similar way to the federal government. A bill has to be read out in the lower house twice before being debated and voted on. Corrections may then be made before the bill is read out a third time and passed to the upper house to be read and voted on in the same way. Finally, the bill is passed and sent to the governor of the state to be signed. Then the bill becomes a new law. The ministers in the state government have to go to Canberra quite often to meet with the Prime Minister to decide how much money we will get to spend on our services. and these meetings are called the Council of Australian Governments. We also have a judiciary made up of law courts and judges who make sure all people obey the law. Our courts are the Supreme Court, the District Court, and Magistrates Court. Now over to Colonel Local to find out about another really important level of government.
Hi there. We may be small as well as me being short, but we're really important as we are your local government called the Council, and we run things here in your local area. Representatives elected to the Council are called councillors, and their leader is known as the Mayor. Here in Ryde, our Mayor is Councillor Ivan Pitch. He is the chairman at all our local council meetings and gets to lots of special events like citizenship ceremonies and other important functions. When he gets to wear his wonderful mayoral robes. There are more than 600 councils throughout Australia, and we look after all the local facilities like the local roads, parks, public libraries, museums, swimming pools, the garbage collection, playgrounds, street signs and sports fields. We also decide where new buildings and roads should go and which areas should be protected. We can make our own laws called bylaws that affect the local community. These have to be read out and debated, like in the other levels of government, and they also have to be approved by the state government before they become actual law. Now back to Hannah in the classroom.
Thanks, guys. That was really interesting. Now we know how all the levels of government work. Well, how about we see what the kids thought?
Wow, we've learned so much. I think my brain's going to explode.
And now for the bloopers.